So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Deka Nyamke, Development Director at United World Wrestling. It is a great pleasure to be here today, connected with you through this new digital era that we've been all propelled much faster than we ever thought, right? We are here today to collect a maximum information from you, the athletes, and the athlete representatives, those who are still competing and those who have retired. Mr. Lalovic has already addressed this point last week in the webinar, mentioning that it is important that we have a maximum of information from each country. What is the effect and the impact of the coronavirus on each of the nations in order to collect a maximum of information in order to prepare the competition and the training calendar for the wrestling family to get back on the mat as soon as possible. So the aim is, of course, these webinars have been launched since last week. We will be working in various areas for the athletes, the referees, and the coaches, and of course, the members of the various commissions. Today, we also have participants and members of the technical commission for them to also collect the information from your point of view. What is your experience as the athletes impacted by this virus? We also would like to collect the information on what are your challenges, what are your concerns. I suppose having to compete with opponents and putting what are the health and safety measures that you are fearing or you are concerned about. I've just finished a meeting prior with the ASWAF Development and Education Committee, where also all the international sports are collecting data to see what is the impact and to investigate and to further evaluate what are the impacts and what the future will look like. Of course, Mr. Lalovic is also a member of the task force of the coronavirus with the IOC. So we have all the different parameters to collect a maximum of information to make sure that you, the athletes, get back on the mat in the best safe conditions as possible. So therefore, now I would like to give the floor to Yuri Meyer, who will give us an update on the IOC updates of the global impact of coronavirus. Also, Arsen Julfalakian has participated in many of these meetings. Oh, Yanan Sun, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me now? Perfect, I will start sharing my screen. But I need you as a host to stop sharing your screen so I will be able to share mine. We cannot share two screens at the same time. Just need to click in. Yeah, here we go. Give me 1 sec. I hope you can see that everyone is able to see my slides. Yes, okay. I will be super brief because all this information was released by the IOC, and it's most of the letter that President Thomas Bach directed to all athletes and all the stakeholders in the Olympic movement. First, I don't know if I think that the image comes with some delays, but it's a historic decision for the IOC, and they put in place the decision of taking the Olympic Games to 2021, and it's, of course, it's a historic decision. to safeguard the health of the athletes and all the people involved in the games. And that's why the IOC want to thank all, of course, in the first place to the local organizing committee of Tokyo 2020, the all 206 national committees, because they also committed with this decision, all international federations, athletes commissions of the IOC athletes commissions and continental athletes commissions. So thanks to all these parts, the decision has been to take the games 1 year after, just to take care of all the athletes and the health and the safety of all the people involved in the games. So in terms of coronavirus crisis management, there are new there's a whole new focus. For example, the extension of the 1,600 scholarships that the Olympic Solidarity have for athletes. They will be extended to 2021 as well, and that will impact 1,600 athletes. Also with the IOC refugee team will be also extended to 2021. This is our extraordinary circumstances. So that's why we're taking, the IOC is taking extraordinary measures. Here we go. Deka already mentioned this is a task force that the IOC create to put priority on create a safe environment for all participants during the games. And of course, we're taking all the recommendation of the World Health Organization. And then a little bit of what the Olympic Games are and how we can benefit of the Olympic Games. It's a festival of unity of the humankind. It's a symbol of resilience and to come over of the coronavirus crisis. And it's a sign of hope for all humanity. So the athletes as ambassadors of their national teams and their countries, I think this is the key point to show that we overcome this together. The economic impact, it's impossible to avoid this topic. It will come with some important economic crisis in the countries. We already seen that with the many jobs that are being lost. This will, it's impossible, this economic crisis will not reach the NOCs, the Minister of Sports, the sponsors, and of course, all that will come up with national federations as well. So we need to be very smart at that point and try to use the limited financial resources that national federations will have and use it in a more efficient way. For example, the IOC has already taken some measures in terms of adjustments of the new reality and the new context. And same as United World Wrestling. United World Wrestling is following the same steps the IOC. And for example, all the United World Wrestling staff has been momentarily reduced their salaries by 50%. So we just continue to adapting to this crisis. I don't know if you can see the slide because it's moving super slow, but Olympic Games are just to build bridge to everybody. It's without any kind of discrimination, and it's a unique cultural and sport activity. So it's beyond all political or diversity, and that's why and how we have to use these games to come all together again, united as one in the world, and use the sports as a tool for that. I think that's all for my part. I want the athletes to speak, not just us. So I just want to give you a brief conclusion about what the IOC message and Mr. Thomas Bach letter was saying about. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning of my presentation. Yuri, if you can disconnect yours. Thank you. So just a brief introduction to all of our attendees, because we have participants from all over the world. Just to introduce the United World Wrestling Athletes Commission, which is chaired by Jordan Burroughs, who is the chair and member of the Bureau. Therefore, he takes part at all the Bureau meetings and represents the voice of the athletes on your behalf. Then we have Odunayo Adekwore from Nigeria, Arsen Julfalakian, which I've mentioned just before, Sophia Matson, Yanan Soon, Melonine Noumonvi, Komel Gassemi, Yasmin Mian, and Mindogos Erceskis. I'm so sorry, Mindogos. I didn't pronounce your last name perfectly. So we're supposed to have Jordan Burroughs give us an introduction, but he doesn't seem to be connected yet. So this is the agenda for today, where we will be mainly hearing you and not me on what I've mentioned previously about the concerns and the challenges you face as athletes. So I hand out the floor now back to you, Athletes Commission members, and would like to start off with Sophia, if possible.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's been quite a challenging time for all of us. But I think that Sweden, since we're not that big country, so we are used to travel a lot and to join different kind of training camps, because we don't have like that many wrestlers in our own country. So that's been really hard for us to find some sparring and yeah, to actually wrestle at all. And a lot of our trainings are now outside.
Okay, very good, Sophia. And how do you feel the fact that Sweden is one of those nations that has managed the coronavirus in a complete different manner compared to the rest of the world? Do you see it differently? Do you?
Yeah, like you mentioned, Swedish has managed the coronavirus in a very different way. We doesn't have any. We only have recommendations, and they're not as strict as from the rest of the world. So we can still be outside and do our training, which yeah, which has made it work for us, like for the wrestlers. And I understand that that has not been the case for probably most of the other athletes, but for me, I'm actually not that worried. But I still have, even though if I get the virus and I don't get affected, I need to think about those who will have a hard time if they get it. Like I have family members and friends and all the people around me, and I don't want to get any one of them infected with the virus, of course.
Of course. Thank you, Sophia. Melonan? À vous? I don't know if you speak English, but the webinar is only in English.
Sorry for my English. No.
Okay.
Regarding the confinement, it's pretty rare because we have confined in 17 March and unconfined the last Monday, 11. So during the confinement, the French Federation implemented several protocol for the wrestlers, for the athletes. So many in video conference, understand? With a physical trainer for adapt the training for wrestlers. So we have this. Yes, for the physical maintenance, you have all athletes benefits of the conference with a doping agency, some yoga classes, cooking with the nutritionist. So many things to the federation for the athletes. Now we can return to train in training center in INSEP. I don't know if you know, but we can to the other guys. We need to train outside because all sport the indoor sports is prohibited for now. So, but before this, we need sorry.
In French, I can translate.
It's better. Oui, on doit avoir un test physique dans
Physical test, physical conditioning test.
Pour voir si on peut reprendre l'activité. Pour
See
voir
if they're capable to start training again. So you are saying that the French government and the French Federation has actually put out a policy for all the sports for training. C'est juste, donc vous dites que la Fédération française ou le gouvernement français a mis en place une procédure pour la pratique de tous les sports ou de la lutte uniquement?
Non, pas pour tous les sports, mais pour tout ce qui est sport de contact, on peut pas pratiquer. On peut juste faire de la préparation physique. Et parce que le problème, c'est que le gouvernement veut pas tester des sportifs de haut niveau.
Traduit en même temps. Hein? So the French government still is not open for combat sports yet. And therefore, especially, they don't want to conduct any tests on elite athletes. So for now, everything is still at home, training at home, no back to training yet. Et c'est pour cela que vous vous entraînez uniquement à la maison. On est d'accord?
Maintenant, on a le droit de s'entraîner au centre, à l'INSEP, avec moins de 10 personnes et que de la préparation physique. C'est-à-dire qu'on peut se regrouper, même si on a les distances de sécurité, avec l'entraîneur. Mais on n'a pas le droit de pratiquer la lutte, quoi. Tous les sports de contact sont interdits pour l'instant.
So for now, France has put back a only training, but no contact. So they're able to go back to the high performance training center, and they're allowed a maximum of 10 people, but still no sparring. Oui. Et donc, vous avez des inquiétudes, Mélona, quant à votre préparation physique, quant à votre condition physique pour les Jeux de Tokyo? Ou tout simplement les championnats continentaux et les qualifications continentales? I asked Mélona if he's worried the fact that because of the process being so long and extensive, that if he's worried about his physical condition towards his preparation for the Continental Championship and the qualifiers towards Tokyo 2021.
Pas de grosses inquiétudes. Après, c'est sûr que pour les athlètes français en général, c'était un coup dur d'apprendre le report des Jeux. Mais tout le monde comprend l'urgence de la situation. Après, après, le débat a été de savoir est-ce que tous les athlètes du monde sont égaux face à voilà, la préparation, parce que tous les pays n'ont pas confiné en même temps. Certains pays ont le droit encore de s'entraîner. Mais bon, après, sur le plan personnel, je trouve que nous, sur le confinement, on était quand même actifs par rapport à la fédération, qui nous ont mis quand même beaucoup de choses en place. Et voilà, pour compenser un peu ce manque de lutte, quoi, de pratique.
So Manolan mentioned that his main concern is also the fact of the postponement of the games. I suppose the mental and physical conditioning towards the games, and now knowing that it's been postponed of 1 year, changes an athlete perception and inner view of how he or she has to train. But he understands also, of course, that the situation is that it was unavoidable, and now it's only a matter of seeing how the coronavirus has also been managed in each country, which differentiates. So Mélona, donc on peut dire que votre point le plus culminant ou le plus important, c'est de pouvoir retourner sur le tapis.
Oui, c'est le point culminant. Après, on est obligé d'attendre de toute façon les directives du gouvernement. Après, la fédération, on espère, avec ce déconfinement, qu'il n'y aura pas un autre confinement, qu'on pourra reprendre l'activité en septembre. Et si on a une dérogation, parce que parfois on peut avoir des dérogations avec le ministère des Sports français, peut-être pouvoir faire un stage d'entraînement cet été, juillet ou août, en confinant les athlètes, bien sûr les tester avant, pour voir s'ils sont pas malades, et pour essayer de reprendre un peu la pratique en confinant tout le monde sur un camp d'entraînement, quoi.
Okay, so he hopes that by September, that he gets back to training, and of course with all the necessary measures to be taken to ensure the safety of all. If I may move to Arsen Julfalakian, who has attended several of the IOC Global Call updates. Arsen?
Hello, Deka.
Hi.
Nice to see you and all
Nice to see you.
my colleagues, dear Mr. President. Yeah, it's of course not good to see you only virtually. Better to see you in real life, but so we have what we have. Yeah, as you mentioned, Deka, I participated in most of the IOC Athletes Commission video calls, conferences, and the last was held on May 8th. I have some notes here to me, most important things. That was the last one, as I mentioned, and the main topics of the call included anti-doping, with presentations from 2 senior members of WADA and updates on the reorganization of the Tokyo 2020 Games, covering qualification, logistics, and more. And the other topic was about Olympic Solidarity Funding model and how IOC revenues are generated and distributed. As Yuri mentioned, they are most important 2 programs. We are continuing to give by solidarity programs the scholarships to 1,600 athletes, and all in all they spend more $23.5 million on these 2 programs. One is this about scholarship, and the other they are giving extra money to international federations and NOCs. Also, they told us about WADA program, how they are going to resume the checkings in doping checkings. Yeah, they say that they will start this again on September if everything goes well. And about the rest, Yuri told. I would like to say just how things are going on in my country. As Melanie told us, a lot of things are close, France and in Armenia. For example, we have difficulties in combat sports, also in wrestling. In Armenia, we have emergency situation. It's not like in Sweden. So almost 1 month, everything was closed. The second month, they opened, but partly. And now we are already in the third month. We closed everything on 13th of March. So now we have 18th of May and just 1 month longer emergency situation will go in Armenia. And it's really very difficult for combat sports and especially for wrestling, because by the law, you should keep the distance, the safety distance, 1.5 meters minimum. And you can understand that with these conditions, it's impossible to train with your partner. Of course, we are making open air trainings, but we can't have training camps. Still, it is forbidden for combat sports. I made a recommendation to our government, and maybe you can use it too. I even wrote about this during the meeting, video call with Mr. Ladovic. What I offered to our government. The offer was this one. We can check all combat athletes for a test. Are they healthy? And then we can isolate them in small hotels near the forest, like in a nature, right? And just in this hotel, we need to have fitnesses, only fitness center, nothing else. If we have fitness center, there we can make trainings. And if the guys are totally isolated, there is no danger. And first they are checked for their health. Are they healthy or not? And then isolated, it means there is no danger for them to get ill with this COVID. So we are thinking about that, but anyway, it is difficult to organize because there are only combat sports that can't make these trainings. The rest, 30 other federations, they can continue trainings like athletics and swimmings. They are doing weightlifting. They are all continuing their trainings, but they are doing only private, not in national teams. So that is the situation in my country. Hope soon these strict restrictions will be changed and we can continue our trainings in normal situations. And of course, it's very difficult. The borders are closed. We can't travel. Tournaments, of course, because of tournaments, many athletes now have unclarity. They don't know how to prepare. That is the main questions that bothering our athletes in Armenia.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Arsen. Thank you. Maybe I pass the floor to Mindagaus.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
thank you.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
It's sad to hear from my friends that about situation in their countries, because in Lithuania we have now, I think, the best situation that I hear, because we was in quarantine for 1.5 months, and because we don't have a lot of cases of COVID, so in the beginning of May, our government says that the Olympic team and those guys who are preparing for the Olympic Games, Olympic qualification tournaments and other things, so they can start training, normal training like every day. So for 2 weeks, we are back to business. Our team is together and we began training on the mat, in sparring and everything. So, and I think Lithuania situation is getting better and better. And I think from the 1st of June, the same decision will be for the junior teams, cadet teams, and everybody's coming back to the sports, to the normal life. So other things, okay, guys is preparing, but now for the athletes, the most important thing to prepare for what? Okay, we have 2021 qualification tournament in Hungary. It is in the March, but now it's everybody thinking when it will be something in the autumn, in the November or December, what competition, because if you want to train, you must prepare for something, yeah, for some competition, to do the cycles of the general preparation, specific preparation. So now it's everybody waiting from UWW some calendar and when begin some competitions. So I think after all, we have the best situation in the now.
Yes, yes. As Mr. Lalovic mentioned last week in his in the webinar regarding the future impact of the COVID-19, he said that before 30th of June, it's impossible to forecast any events because, of course, each government will respond differently. How are we going to manage the traveling and people moving around? What are the measures and the restrictions that each country will apply, and of course the COVID-19 is not progressing the same in every continent. So in order for everybody to participate, it is very difficult to forecast or to plan anything in advance for the time being. And Mr. Lalovic is here with us today, so he can also mention or address any points. The most important thing, what he addressed, and of course the technical commission really needs your help, is actually to collect the current situation of each of your countries. What are the measures taken? And of course, if all the athletes can go back to the field of play, even through their preparation, their physical preparation, and their training. So that's the most important item or point I would like to address again. And if you could share with us, and this will be addressed to all the athletes around the world, of course, and through their national federation and our continental presidents, of course. I would like to hear from Odunayo. Odunayo, maybe a perspective from the African continent and Nigeria.
Yeah, it's good to see everyone. Presently in Nigeria, there is total lockdown. We can't move around. But most of the high performance athletes will train differently at home. Maybe with the little equipment everyone have, we just train with it. No training camps. We can't go outside. And I called some of my friends, some of the wrestlers in Ejedida, and they told me for like 2 months now, there is no training. They asked everyone to go back to their country. That maybe after the lockdown, they'll come back to training. But as for now, everyone trains at home. We don't go to training.
Thank you, Odunayo. We also have Komel Gassemi with Farnaz Panahazite, who is actually our colleague from the development department. And of course, we've heard about the devastating situation of Iran. I'm really sorry for the Iranian people. I'm all heartfelt with you, and I would like to hear from you. How is the situation evolving? I personally don't rely on what the media and the press says 100%. So that's why the wrestling family is so valuable to collect this data. Farnaz.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm beside the Komel, and he shared his idea to me, and I wanted to speak on behalf of him in this meeting. And you know that we are in the lockdown since 1st of the March in Iran, and the situation was not so good in Iran at first, but now the situation is under control, and the government reduced the limitation for us, and now the government lets the sports to start, but just the individual sports. Such as tennis, weightlifting, they start their activities, but in the combat sport, they didn't let us to do something, but we hope that after 1 month, everything will be normal, because we heard that the football matches will be start soon, in the 1 month. But as I heard from the Kamil, he said that the athletes are in the Iran, the Westerners, that they train in their home, and some of them have availability to reach the local gym to train in that gym, but in the individual parts, but they cannot just do any training with their teammates. And you know that's a big concern, is that they need to train on a mat and to work with their teammates, and so it's difficult for them to train individually. And also the coaches are so concerned and worried about the athletes, because they can monitor them, but it's really difficult for them to train with them in close. But this is the situation that we have in Iran, and we hope that during 1 month everything will be okay, and we can back to the training. But maybe the Kamil told me that he has a suggestion, maybe we can have a training camp in outdoors. We can have a mat in the, for example, in the yard, something like that. And then when we had a test from the athlete that they are okay and they don't have any problem, they can train in the open area. Maybe we can do something here in the open area.
میتونه مثلا اتحادیه مثلا به فدراسیون
Maybe
کشور داشته باشه که
it's
فعالیت
possible.
باز مثلا
Maybe it's
پیشرفت
possible
پنگ کنه.
for the United World Wrestling also to have a national competition in outdoors, because you know, maybe if you look at the history of the wrestling, in 1959 there was a world championship in Tehran that organized in the open area, and also in 1971 there is a world championship in the Bulgaria that was in the open area. So we can have tournaments or training camps in an open area.
Well noted. Well noted. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So now I pass the floor to Rich Bender, who is a member of the Technical Commission and also Executive Director of USA Wrestling. Rich, welcome. If you want to give us some updates from a USA perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Decca. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak to such a illustrious group this morning, and just on behalf of the Technical Commission, we are committed to the athletes, and obviously that is the center of all of our focus. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I apologize that Jordan was unable to jump on, but I hopefully can give an update on the status of the COVID virus on wrestling in the United States. And as many have probably read, there's a lot of diversity that exists in our country in terms of where the coronavirus has impacted the most. On the coast in California and New York, obviously the most significantly impacted. But the good news is in the inner parts of our country, smaller state populations, areas like Wyoming and South Dakota, Oklahoma, those areas have been less impacted, and our entire country has been shut down since March in terms of shelter in place or shelter at home. And the states are managing the virus differently. For example, here in Colorado, we are on a phase called Safer at Home, where our governor has made it required that everyone stay in their home unless they have a purpose to leave. Our Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs is shut down currently, working very hard to find ways, as Arsen mentioned earlier, where we can create a bubble around athletes where we can test everyone when they come in, ensure that during the training, all the auxiliary people are tested so there's no chance of spreading the virus and athletes can get together and train. We're not there yet, but certainly working very hard to create situations like that. Certain parts of the country have opened up as recently as this week. In Oklahoma, there are small training camps that are starting with restrictions on numbers. I think in Oklahoma, you're not allowed to congregate with more than 50 people. So obviously there's encouragement there for athletes to begin training. But we also understand that most of the scientists within the U.S. Olympic movement have said that athletes need a minimum of 8 weeks from the status that they are currently in, where they're not much training, maybe training at home, outside, cross training, but no on the mat wrestling, that there's a minimum of 8 weeks that are needed for athletes to correctly prepare for a competition. So as we in the United States start to plan to open training and competitions, obviously the safety of the athletes are at the center. We want to make sure no one gets injured, so we don't have a schedule an event too soon. But I think we are very similar to everyone except for maybe Lithuania in terms of the status that we have here in the United States. Obviously, there's some athletes, for example, Kyle Schneider, whose brother was an elite wrestler, has a situation where he can train at home with his brother and prepare and stay active that way. And other athletes that don't have family members that are capable of training or training locations are very similar to everyone else on this call, not doing anything except for cross training. So we're encouraged that we'll begin wrestling again soon. But as of right now, there really is not any legitimate wrestling going on in our country, except in those very rural areas where the virus has had little or no impact. So thank you for the opportunity to give an update on the U.S. and happy to answer any questions. But again, honored to be on the call.
Thank you, Rich. So is from what I understand, Rich, is that you're saying that the minimum required. So if we were to put up a competition, if we were to share the competition calendar, is the minimum required for the athletes to really be back in shape is minimum 8 weeks. Oh, Rich is muted. Just a second, Rich.
Yes, thank you. And that's what the scientists with the U.S. Olympic Committee has told us, that from the date that athletes can legitimately start to train again in the sport of wrestling, they feel like to avoid injury, that 8 weeks is the rough number that they use to determine when an athlete, when in the right training scenario, can progress to the level needed to compete in this sport at the very highest level.
Okay, so I suppose this such recommendation you will put up to discussion with the technical commission when you will start forecasting the competition calendar, correct?
Yeah, certainly I will. And one other thing that I'd like to say is that we just released on Friday a return to mat guidelines, a return to wrestling guidelines that our National Federation issued in conjunction with our Olympic Committee. That can, if you go to the mat.com, you can see it there. Or I can have it sent to you, Decca, if you want to distribute it to, yeah.
Please, yes.
The difficult thing in the United States is that this virus is being managed by each individual state. So we have 50 states that are all managing the virus differently and the lockdowns differently. But I would say, the general consensus around the country is right now that obviously the physical separation is a requirement, and that makes it really difficult for wrestling, even in those states where you might be able to congregate but not I mean, obviously, it's the antithesis of wrestling is physical separation. You get penalized in our sport for doing that. So that's the difficult thing, as some others have also mentioned.
Okay, thank you very much, Rich. So I think Yanan Soon. I don't know if you want to address.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. 蕾蕾姐，你能帮我翻译一下吗？Sorry.
I know.
She asked me to translate for her.
Please.
I don't know if you guys could hear me.
But you can mute me, Lei.
Okay, I'll just mute.
Hello everyone. Sorry, I just have to mute Decca for a second because we're in the same room. So Sun Yanan is asking me to help her translate what she's gonna say to you guys. 行，亚楠，我帮你翻译。
好，就是姐，就是没有什么建议，就是中国队现在一直在国家队封闭训练，然后就是希望疫情尽快结束，可以比赛什么之类的，就没有。
Okay, so she says the national team of Chinese wrestling team has been stayed in the Olympic Training Center in Beijing all this time, and is confined training area. Nobody can leave the training center, and so that's how they managed in China at the moment. And she hopes everything will be okay very soon. 还有其他的吗？
没有了。
Okay, that's all.
好，谢谢雷姐。
I think we did the roundtable situation updates. If now we may move to questions from the participants. We have a few questions. So, High Performance Director, I don't know from where, says, can we please get clarity on the championship being postponed and canceled? Again, as I said, Mr. Lalovich updated last week that nothing can be forecasted or defined for the competition calendar before the 30th of June.
So when you want to answer this, I can click answer live.
Oh, okay.
You can say whoever wants to answer it, then you can raise your hand or you answer it.
Okay, so any of the questions, we can answer them by live. We're getting accustomed to Zoom, this digital era. Second question is seating, ranking being adjusted for the Olympics. Again, the sports department has already updated most of the decisions taken by the technical commission and the executive committee, and of course the bureau. Regularly, everything is posted on the United World Wrestling website, and of course national federations get circulars very often on all the decisions that have been taken. Yeah, I think everybody is quite worried, from Catriel Muriel, worried about the international competition. Again, as mentioned before, decisions will be taken after 30th of June. So just to give you an update on what United World Wrestling Development Department and United World Wrestling as a whole has been working on is these webinars. We will host them frequently. I think most of the national federations and United World Wrestling members of commissions, such as yourselves, have received the dates for the next webinars, which is focusing on coaches and referees, but also athletes, of course. We are working, it's actually been a great time for us in the development department to slow down a little bit from our crazy schedule to focus on the United World Wrestling Academy, Education Academy platform. So this will be ready and running by hopefully end of June. Therefore, you will have coaches and referees will have the possibility to do online education. Of course, we also know the importance to maintain the physical, the lecture in person, but the basics will be delivered and shared on the platform. we hope to really renew this experience as much as possible. Of course, your voices, as we mentioned, is very important for us. As Mr. Lalovic said, he really wants to hear your personal point of view. What is the situation and the updates from your countries, the legislations and the laws that will be put in place. So please keep us updated. We are here for you. So whenever you need, just don't hesitate to write or to call us. Mr. Lalovic, would you like to add something?
Yes, I would like to add. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants and all the panelists for being engaged in such discussions. I believe that this is very, very important to keep contact and to share experiences from different parts of the world. This is for us, and especially the Technical Commission, and you all know that the Technical Commission, and I'm happy to hear Rich Bender, and I also see that Perti is taking part in, as a participant, listening to this. Now they become the brain of this federation, of this sport, because they will have a huge work to do to accomplish a new calendar for this in the next year, in between the 8th and the 15th of June. Then we will approve their solutions by the board, and then we will announce. This is about, because I saw the questions and answers that have been asked. This is mostly about when we will resume with the continental championships, when we will resume with other younger age championships, what will happen with 21, and so on and so on. Guys, you have to understand, we are not a wedding agency. We are an international federation trying to have a competition as soon as it is possible. As soon as it is possible with same conditions from every one of you. And this is now the main problem. How you will gather on some places, how you will come, if we can respect all the sanitary, how to say, measures to be observed, the local rules about it, and then it is much more feasible to me that we maybe resume with continental championships for all three younger age classes for the beginning, maybe already end of August, beginning of September. This is, if we announce that by between the 15th and the 20th of June, why only then? Because in the meantime, in 2-3 next weeks, things will change dramatically, like they were changing in the beginning. And suddenly we have a very fast opening of countries last 5 days in Europe. We cannot announce something then to cancel it again. It's really uncomfortable for us and even more for you. By having some competition on some continents that we hope will happen end of the summer, we may in that way, let's say, respect what Rich said about 8 weeks as a minimum for preparation for the athletes. And then we plan to keep everything we had on calendar, but just to postpone it. We may expect some competitions end of August, beginning of September. For me, that looks possible. The problem is that this season for seniors is unfortunately ended because you didn't finish the qualifiers and you will not have the games. Those games are postponed for 1 year. I am also considering and speaking with my colleagues from different federations what we can imagine for the senior athletes by the end of the year, because I know that most of you have national championships, but I believe that you would like to compete on an international level. And this is our job to do, to try to do and organize that until the end of the year. We'll see exactly what it will be. Of course, solutions come from very skilled and clever people who are sitting in the technical commission. Our expectations from them are huge. You have to be sure that we are doing our best to have you, to provide for you conditions to compete as soon as it is possible. I would like our sport to be the first one to restart with the competitions. I know it's more difficult because it's a contact sport, but I believe that also we are more brave than the others are. And you lived something similar 7 years ago. This is easier, believe me. And we don't have any threat that the others don't have, like it was 7 years ago. Today we look a little bit different. Then from the questions that I would like to answer also is that will there be World Championships 21 by Kenneth from Korea? Yes, Kenneth, it will be the World Championships 21 in October in Oslo, like it was. We had discussions with the Norwegians, but also with other federations. Some are not really being sure that it is necessary, but also I believe that 8 weeks after the Olympics, it may be interesting for all those who didn't succeed to have medals on the Olympics. We have to take in consideration that on our World Championships are participating always around 1,000 athletes. On the games, it's a little bit less than 300. So the door is open that way to all those who didn't succeed, but also for those who have the sole chance in their life, a historic chance to win both medals on those both competitions in the same year. That I'm not sure that will happen soon again, and won't be a possibility. So also we are not sure today if the games there will be spectators or not. So it may happen that the World Championship in Wrestling 21 might be absolutely crowded and overbooked maybe for the spectatorship if that happens in Tokyo. But anyway, for Tokyo, not many nations have tickets. Tickets are sold out a long time ago, and there is no possibility to have more tickets. And probably there will be some measures, so they will have to reduce the number of spectators. God knows. All this is possible. So we keep all the doors open, and you have to be confident we will find out with the Technical Commission some solutions for you. I believe that this is what you want to hear, because you are not alone with your problems in your own countries. We are all together again, and I am sure that we will have soon some solutions. You can expect them around the 20th of June, and then to start prepare, because the show must go on, of course. Thank you very much to all of you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lalovic. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap up this session, and as I mentioned, we look forward to receiving even your updates, your written updates directly to us by email whenever there is an update from your national authorities. So don't hesitate to share with us. And thank you again all for joining. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon, and stay tuned. Thank you.